That's an interesting finding that we see over and over again, that we're actually a little surprised at how impressed people tend to be with our processes, just because a lot of the wealth management industry is, very paper-based, backward looking in sort of a different way, moves a little slowly and that sort of thing, or it can in some cases.
Welcome to AFO Wealth Management Forward, a podcast about finance, accounting, technology, and entrepreneurship. We apply our decades worth of experience and insight into what makes businesses work, so we can help others grow both personally and professionally. In this ever-evolving marketplace, we help accounting firms and financial advisors grow their practice through the adoption of holistic wealth management services. Learn from industry leaders and subject matter experts to unlock the secrets of their success. A podcast that shows people and companies the transformative power of technology so they don't fear it, but instead harness it. Don't fight the robots, team up with them. And here are your hosts, Rory Henry, Director of Business Development, and CEO Rob Santos of Arrowroot Family Office.
Hi, everyone. Today, Rob and I will be talking with the General Manager for Betterment For Advisors. Founded in 2010, Betterment has changed the financial industry with technological innovations, investing automation, and intuitive client experiences. From portfolio management to advising 401k plans, they have reinvented the experience for clients organizing their finances with powerful and user-friendly technology. Our guest today has been working at Betterment for 8 years. We have spent those years building software and leading engineer teams. So let's give a warm welcome to Jon Mauney. Jon, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Rory. That was a fantastic intro. I think we can just call it right there.
I do my best. Rob?
Yeah, Rory's trying to become the announcer for the Dodgers or something. It just gets better and better every time.
One day.
Jon, thank you so much. We at Arrowroot Family Office obviously work with Betterment in a couple different ways, on the 401k side and also on the advisor side. We've been big fans ever since you guys launched in 2010, trying to make things kind of more transparent and innovative. Maybe just to start off here, could you talk a little bit about your background and tell us a little bit about what you do with Betterment and Betterment for Advisors?
Yeah, absolutely. So the majority of my career has actually been spent at Betterment. I think Rory mentioned I started a little over 8 years ago at this point. When the company was about 20 people, and we're getting close to 400 now. So it's a very, very different situation than what I came into. And the growth of the company has given me the opportunity to do a lot of different jobs. I came in the analytics space as sort of Betterment's first just general data analyst. Transitioned into engineering, was leading a lot of back-end engineering teams for a while there at Betterment. And then a couple of years ago, found myself leading, again, a few teams that included our Betterment for Advisors engineering team. And there was sort of a need for some leadership over there. So our CEO at the time, John Stein, said, "Do you want to do this?" And I said, "Why not?" So I've actually spent a lot more time building software in my life than I have working with financial advisors, but I've enjoyed it very much over the past few years.
Cool. And you know what? Part of our program, Jon, is getting firms to adopt technology and also adopting another mindset. Many accounting firms have a backwards-looking mindset that looks to reconcile the past, and we really strive to have them focus on the future towards tax planning and financial planning opportunities. I'm a huge believer in immersing clients in that onboarding experience, and advisors have raved about Betterment. I've raved about it. Being able to make transfers and link accounts. Can you kind of describe how you guys have streamlined that process for users and how advisors are utilizing the platform to improve efficiencies?
Yeah. So that's an interesting finding that we see over and over again, that we're actually a little surprised at how impressed people tend to be with our processes, just because a lot of the wealth management industry is, very paper-based, backward looking in sort of a different way, moves a little slowly and that sort of thing, or it can in some cases. So, when advisors say like, "Oh, you do paperless account opening, paperless transactions, DTC, ACATS, that kind of thing," it's kind of like, well, yeah, like this isn't that impressive, folks. Like, So, it's always great to see that folks are happy about that stuff. So we don't necessarily see it as that groundbreaking of a thing. But yeah, bringing that kind of technology to the wealth management space is why we started Betterment for Advisors in 2014, 2015, depending on how you count it. We were in a place where we had launched our consumer product in 2010, been running for about 5 years, and things were going well. And we were getting reached out to by a lot of financial advisors out there that say, hey, I agree with your approach on investing. I agree with your approach on automation. How can I use your technology for my own practice? Which is why we built Betterment for Advisors in the first place, to create a place where advisors could manage their book of business and not focus on all those little processes, back office things, and instead focus on their clients and planning and things like that. So we were fortunate that there was demand for the product right from the launch, and it's been growing ever since.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And kind of in that grain, could you maybe talk about some of those tools that you all are providing to advisors to help manage portfolios and solutions?
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's helpful to understand the role that Betterment plays in the advisor-client relationship. So Betterment acts as a sub-advisor in the relationship, which is what permits us to do things like automated trading and automated account management and things like that. The typical deployment of a Betterment for Advisors platform is start with a selection of curated portfolios, strategies that are maintained in-house. We've got a core strategy, we've got SRI strategies, climate, social focus, as well as broad. And then we also have some external managers. We partner with Vanguard, partner with GSAM, Goldman Sachs, as well as BlackRock on an income strategy. And those are just sort of maintained. So the advisor doesn't necessarily have to worry about portfolio construction, making sure that expected returns and volatility are updated and things like that. And then from there, we apply the same automated portfolio management software that we do on the retail side and our 401k side, which is automatically sweeping accounts on a daily basis for rebalancing opportunities, tax loss harvesting opportunities. We support asset location for sort of that whole client relationship, making sure that we're taking as much advantage of tax law as we can, I guess. Automated dividend reinvestment and all those things that advisors don't have to worry about when they use us. And I guess lastly, we have the ability to customize our models and offer custom models for advisors that are interested in providing that service. So we get a lot of advisors that come to us, some that actually do, build their own portfolios, or a little bit more, on the quant side than some others might be. And then a lot that are outsourcing that to third parties as well. They have outsourced CIOs that they work with in order to maintain portfolios, and they can bring those onto our platform. And we stick that on top of our software, which does all that automated management, just the same as our in-house strategies.
Yeah, and we're a big believer in teaming up with the robots and not fighting them, John. Can you touch on what you're doing with your platform? You're currently focused on portfolio management and 401k advisory. How can accounting firms looking to offer holistic wealth management services use Betterment's technology?
Yeah, well, I think the accounting use case is very interesting because Betterment provides so many of the actual RIA services via its software. The folks that are participating in the AFO program may actually find that we're sort of a really good fit for what role they want to play with the client. It'd be a pretty big bite to take off when sort of legging into the financial advice industry to say like, yeah, and I'm going to start doing all the trading and I'm going to start constructing portfolios and that kind of thing. But Betterment and Betterment for Advisors sort of has their back on that, where we can take care of all those things and let the advisor, the accountant or whatever you would call them in this relationship, focus on the services they do want to provide. So we see that a lot with all kinds of folks that we work with. There may be folks that say like, look, I agree that, the robots can do it better, especially on the portfolio management side. I want to focus on estate planning. I want to focus on tax planning. I want to focus on college planning, cash flow management, that kind of thing. All those things that the Betterment software doesn't do. And they can come up with a service offering for their clients and price it properly to be able to provide those services. So that's mainly how we're seeing folks use use the service, but it certainly varies. We work with a lot of different types of financial advisor out there. We do work with accounting firms right now. We work with trust companies. We work with a ton of RIAs, of course. We work with broker dealers, and all of them have sort of a slightly different take on how they use our software.
Yeah, it for a lot of the accounting firms that we talk to that are looking at trying to implement holistic wealth management strategies, a lot of them have a ton of fear about all of that back end stuff that you just mentioned, right? So the trading, the rebalancing, the broker dealer relationships, the reporting, all of that stuff. And what we've found to be really, really useful is that solution at Betterment that takes a lot of that off of their plate. Also provides a very nice compliance overlay for responsibilities, which gives a lot of accountants and advisors a lot of peace of mind. So it's been really, really great to be able to learn more about it. As for your advisor 401k solutions, what kind of separates your platform from your competitors out there and what you all are doing in that space, which we think is really innovative?
Yeah. So we launched our 401k in 2016. Betterment ourselves were our first plan on the platform, which was fun. And I actually had the privilege to work on that back in my software engineering days. So that was sort of an exciting thing to do. I think what's interesting about our offering is it's a little bit choose your own adventure on how involved you want to be. So our platforms integrate nicely. Like when you think about what software Betterment actually provides, there's the retail offering that most people would think about when they think about Betterment. There is a white labeled version of the retail offering for our advised product where, an advisor or an accountant would upload their own branding and that sort of thing. And when the client logs in, they see something that looks like, it's their own platform. There's the advisor platform, which is where all the client management, the billing, the statement generation, all those things take place. And then there's the 401k platform, which is a dedicated platform for administration of a 401k. So that's plan sponsor services, creating participants, terminating participants, uploading payroll, integrating with payroll, compliance reviews and things like that. So when we built our advised 401k offering, what we basically did was connect our advised offering, our Betterment for Advisors offering, and our 401k offering, and integrated them to allow them to sort of talk to each other. So when I say that it's kind of choose your own adventure, Betterment as the record keeper and as the RIA and the sub-advisor on the 401k plans can act as a 316 and a 338 fiduciary. So there's a lot of concern from advisors out there of like, I'm not sure if I want to take on these duties. This is a lot of additional paperwork and things like that. And, just like the benefits we have on the advice side, we just kind of do all that for you. So some advisors want to play a big role in the 401k where they say like, yeah, I'm going to bring, I've got a client, their company needs a 401k, or there was some other 401k company that's garbage. We need a new record keeper, and they'll bring the plan on, and they may want to, go in to provide monthly lunch and learns or provide consultative services to the business as a way of like, potentially winning new business. And they'll set a fee that they charge that we collect on their behalf and remit to them on a quarterly basis. Other advisors just want to have an outlet, just want to have a recommendation that they can give their clients when they ask about this, and really don't want to have as much to do with it. So when that happens, if they just want to refer business, that's of course fine. But if they also want to play some role, we can turn it on so it shows up in their dashboard, but they don't have to charge on it. So it really just comes down to what the advisor is trying to accomplish and what role they want to play on the 401k. And we just take care of the rest.
Makes total sense. We talked about holistic wealth management, our program, as well as teaching holistic wealth management services. You've been in the business now for a while, 8 years at Betterment. You've seen this evolution, especially with the robo-advisor. Can you kind of touch on, Jon, how advisors are moving towards a more holistic approach?
Yeah, so I think holistic is a good word to use because I think that the advances in technology you've seen over the past 10 years or so have created a lot of time in the advisor's day. Where if you were a sole proprietor founding a firm 15 years ago, you were probably doing on Schwab, Fidelity, or TD, or if it was Ameritrade at the time, I'm not sure. And when you would invest for your clients, you were probably making trades on their behalf. There are of course other ways to do that as well, but that was pretty standard at the time. That's less standard now. There's sort of less back office work that needs to happen in order to run a practice, which has freed up advisors to be able to add value in different ways. So those are those things I was mentioning earlier. Tax planning, estate planning, cash flow management, insurance, college planning, and things like that. This sort of whole picture thing that is now, there's now time to do. So a lot of the advisors that we see, we mostly work with fee only advisors that are either going to be, some sort of fixed fee or some fixed fee plus a percentage on assets. And if you're coming to Betterment, you've already recognized that you don't need to be in the weeds on portfolio management, that software can do it better, and you want to be adding value in other ways. So we've seen a lot of that in the last few years, and we've seen a big expansion in that market. With certainly new advisors never trying to take on that trading piece and that portfolio management piece, and then some of the more tenured ones being willing to sort of give that up as what part of what their value prop is and start to focus on other things. So that trend of holistic wealth management is definitely something we've seen as well.
And you mentioned your background in kind of data science and leading on the data science team. With AI continuing to have kind of greater presence in finance, how do you describe the current scope of fintech, as well as what do you think the role of advisors will play in it in the future?
So we could do a whole podcast on this. I have fairly strong opinions about AI and about the branding of AI, which is what I'll get into right now. I think that in the financial services industry, when you see AI, 9 times out of 10, it's mostly marketing. What one could argue that the automated trading that Betterment does is AI. I would not call that AI. I would call that algorithmic trading. Where there are very set rules, and those rules get adhered to, and there are systems that are running that automatically do those things. I personally think, in order to call something AI, there needs to be a learning component to it. Whether that be a simple reinforcement learning mechanism or something more complicated like a neural network or something like that. So again, most of what you see, I think, this is my opinion, when you see AI, it's a little bit marketing smoke and mirrors. I will say that there are practical uses out there. I think a lot of the uses for AI right now are more in the back office. To sort of assist some of the operations of large broker dealers and custodians, like the custodian that Betterment runs. But generally speaking, I just think there's lower hanging fruit out there. I think there's a lot of opportunity for machine assistance, we'll just say, being able to look at an advisor's whole book of business and identify engagement opportunities and things like that, that would allow an advisor to manage a larger client base more efficiently. So that's the kind of stuff that we're focusing on right now. How can we help make the advisor's day more efficient, and really help them make them look good in front of their clients by sort of identifying those engagement opportunities.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And shifting a little bit here, what does, as far as fintech, what kind of role does that play as a threat to big banks, Jon?
Yeah.
Do you think this is a case because big banks are not being innovative enough, and that they simply aren't allowed to be innovative? I think of Clayton Christensen's book, The Innovator's Dilemma. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple angles here. There's around innovation. There's kind of two approaches that you could take to talk about. There's sort of the tech side, and then there's the regulatory side. I think on the tech side, big banks for many, many years have had really deep moats. It's been a hard industry to break into. Getting a banking charter is not easy. Setting up services to get ACH and checking and debit cards and wires and all that kind of thing off the ground is a very rough prospect. But what you've seen in the past couple of years is a lot of fintech as a service offering. So banking as a service is a thing right now. Betterment actually does that. Betterment has a checking product, and we're not a bank. We partner with MBKC Bank on that. And you see other sort of fintech as a service thing. You got Stripe and Square on payments. You'd be kind of crazy to try to do payments from scratch when you've got great APIs out there. But specifically the big bank side, I think those banks were always well poised to offer those kind of banking as a service things. They've got all that infrastructure out, and not that it would be a low lift or an easy thing to build APIs on top of that, but that's a thing that they could have done. They just would have seen that previously as something that was competitive and potentially taking business away. So the sort of smaller players that did go about building those inroads to be able to work with new partners are seeing a lot of success right now, and that's where you've seen all these neobanks come up. Your Betterments, your Chimes, your N26s, and things like that. Where you've got very technology focused firms that are great at building excellent user experiences that can just sort of plug into those backend networks. I totally get banks recently have sort of been maybe complaining a little bit. I think Jamie Dimon's shareholder letter was a little bit critical of some of the upstart neobanks that are out there about saying like, hey, these folks don't have all these regulatory requirements we have, but the technologies on top of which they're built do have those regulatory requirements. So the protections are there. It's just a matter of how you look at it. And I could see why Jamie would be upset about that.
Jamie, yeah, it wasn't an attack on you, Jamie, if you're listening.
I'm sure Jamie's listening.
Yeah. And so kind of touching, let's go in that theme, blockchain, cryptocurrency, now NFTs. We're going to create an NFT of Rory's shiny head, and we're about to sell that. How is Betterment kind of thinking about some of these alternative asset classes, and how are you guys addressing that with your allocations and service model?
Yeah. So again, we're gonna venture into Jon Mauney opinion territory, and I don't know for Betterment here, but I'm definitely a believer that crypto is here to stay. I mean, I don't see any world where 10 years from now, crypto isn't a major component of investment portfolio or possibly being used in cash transactions or cash-like transactions. Our opinion. So now let me get back to Betterment sanctioned opinions. Our opinion is that at least right now, cryptocurrency, as you said, is an asset class. There are relatively minimal transactional applications for cryptocurrencies right now. I think that will change over the next few years, but right now it's almost just it's an asset class. It's almost just it's a little bit of a currency hedge, sure, but it's more like you just want to get exposure to this thing that didn't exist a few years ago that has opportunity for upside, but high volatility. Like the range of outcomes is very wide. So Betterment continuously considers whether or not it's time to sort of get into the crypto industry. We're not at the moment. That's something we said publicly in a few different forums, but it's a thing that we assess continually because there are opportunities there, and there is demand there as well. If we did leg into that, what we want to do is try to find a responsible way to make it part of a portfolio, not a sort of a legalized gambling approach that you can see on some of these other direct exchanges like Coinbase and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Jamie Dimon, just a few years ago, he was saying, Bitcoin's only for drug lords and criminals. And I think I just got a newsletter from JP Morgan on their new, crypto ETF or ETN or something that they're trying to list. And so very, 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 very interesting. Kind of two final points we wanted to kind of cover here. One is, could you maybe talk to the evolution of Betterment, which, originally was coming out really going direct to consumer, and now looking to partner with the advisors, maybe touch on that. And then secondarily is, we have a lot of accounting firms that are looking to, utilize their role as a trusted advisor to, upscale their business or elevate their business and start incorporating some other advisory kind of capacities. Just a few words of advice for some of them as they're looking out into the landscape about how to start doing that.
Can you restate the question?
Yeah, sorry. I did it in two questions. So, all right. So the first question, maybe just spending a minute talking about the evolution of Betterment was really direct to consumer at the beginning. And now you're looking to partner with the advisors. And then second would be maybe just a few words of wisdom to accounting firms who are looking at maybe becoming an RIA and utilizing Betterment solutions.
Yeah. I mean, so partnering with advisors, when we first did it was very surprising to people. And we actually met a good bit of resistance to the idea. I mean, there was plenty of demand and plenty of people coming in, but we also talked to plenty of advisors that said, wait, Betterment, the robo advisor, like the people that are here to steal my clients, like why would
the enemy?
Right? A lot of people thought that. And what's great is that take is going away. I mean, we've got years of data that says like, no, we don't steal your clients. We're actually partners.
I mean, Rob was one of those guys, John. I'm not going to lie.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I mean, like I said, we've been a fan since the beginning. But yeah, no, it's been refreshing to be able to see that. And I think, like you were probably saying, it's been received really well in the market.
Yeah, it has. It's gotten a lot, like I said, it's gotten a lot easier over the past few years. We don't encounter that resistance anymore. So it's great to see that, we're now recognized as a partner in the space rather than what's your angle here? That sort of thing, because that was never the case. As far as, one thing to add to that. I think one of the reasons that we don't often mention of why it was so important for Betterment to offer a product to advisors to leverage the technology that we already built and to put that in the hands of advisors is Betterment doesn't do everything. This sort of holistic wealth management stuff that you're talking about, like Betterment really focuses on, some light planning as well as the portfolio management side. And offers software to make it, sort of a straightforward experience for clients to get their investments on track. But, we're not offering recommendations on advice. We're not offering much in the way of estate planning. We certainly have tons of tools built into our software to reduce taxes, but we're not doing much in the way of tax planning. So we still need an advisor to be a part of that client relationship to be able to do those things. We like to think that we give the advisor the opportunity to focus more on those things while we focus on the things that we're good at, which is what makes for a lovely partnership. And sort of getting on to, the second part of your question around, just how participants in this AFO Wealth Forward thing can sort of leverage the Betterment technology. I just think it's a good fit. Like, there's this choose your own adventure thing of like how involved you want to be in different things. It's a pretty turnkey solution. We get firms spun up in as little as an hour. Once we get compliance approval and that sort of thing, but as little as an hour, and they can start adding clients right then, and everything's paperless. Like you get on, you can be in a meeting with a client and have them have an account opened in 5 minutes, and start to go through some of our tools on financial planning and investment management and things like that. So, I think it's a good opportunity for folks, especially if you kind of want to test the waters. There's no reason to say you can't stop. There's no big purchase up front or anything like that. It's just a thing that you can kind of try out. So I'd recommend it. I recommend reaching out to us, and we'll tell you more about it.
Right. Sounds. We always tell our advisors and our accounting firms out there, crawl before you walk, before you run. So Betterment is a great solution for them to be able to do that. Thank you so much for joining us, John. We covered a lot of information here. So, how can advisors or accounting firms get a hold of you guys? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, betterment.com/advisors. Pretty straightforward. I mean, there's, again, sign up for a demo. We won't hound you with sales materials or anything like that. Like if you're just curious, go do it. And we'd love to talk to you.
Perfect. All right. We'll list all that in the show notes. Rob?
Yeah. And, I would just suggest for a lot of accountants out there that may not be registered investment advisors yet, and they're looking to partner with someone, a registered investment advisor that's part of that platform, is for them personally to open up an account. It doesn't cost anything on Betterment. You can get a feel for the tools. You can go to betterment.com and get a feel for the client experience. It doesn't cost you a thing, and they won't hound you. And so we would underline that for everybody listening, and for folks that are joining the AFO Wealth Management Program. They've obviously heard that as well. Jon, thank you so much for taking the time today. We know, it's very valuable time on a Friday afternoon. So appreciate you coming on. We're looking forward to having you on again sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jon.
Thanks, Jon.
All right, have a good one.
All opinions expressed by Rob Santos and Rory Henry on this website podcast interview are solely their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Arrowroot Family Office LLC or their parent company or affiliates, and may have been previously disseminated on television, radio, internet, or another medium. You should not treat any opinion expressed by anyone as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or follow a particular strategy, but only as an expression of their opinions. Past performance is not indicative of future results.